Hey Witch, and welcome back to Witch Hunt. I'm Panda Bennett, and today on the trial of Ethony, we will be discussing her spiritual path and how she uses magic on the daily. So, thank you so much for joining us. I was just telling you about how I've watched your videos for years, and this is like meeting Beyonce, and I'm so excited. Like, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It is an absolute pleasure. The pleasure is all mine.
So, okay, so Ethony, for anyone that doesn't know, you guys all know. You guys are going to come here and be like, who are you? So, everyone knows who Ethony is, but she's a deck creator. She leads a coven. She teaches tarot. She's a content creator. Yeah. So, in amongst all of that, what other labels do you call yourself? A witch, a green witch, a seeker, anything like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I am a mother, and I would also say my kind of witch title is eclectic witch for sure. Maybe that's the Gemini in me. I don't know, but I could never really settle on one thing that kind of felt like home. So now but very Wiccan, base or a kind of base of it, but evolutionary Wicca, because I believe it needs to evolve, and in a way that feels authentic, because like the more I started to learn about Wicca and I went through my training, and then I was just like, okay, well, I did my training in Australia, and sorry, I just jumped straight into the story, but I did my training in Australia, and they would talk about the seasons, and it's like this, even in winter, it's not like it is in the UK, and where the modern Wicca sort of reconstruction came from. And so if I felt a disconnection there, first of all, because it was like, well, in Perth, where I'm from, in winter we get rain, but not days of rain. It's like it rains for 20 minutes and then it's blue sky, or it might get down to 0 degrees or -2, maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're lucky. But we have a lot more blue sky, we have a lot more sun, we have 300 plus days a year of sky blue, lots of heat. And so I was like, well, there was that disconnection. Of course, the Australian and Aboriginal people have got a rich and vast and beautiful culture, and there's a number of different amazing languages and myths and seasons. And so where I'm from, there's 8 seasons in the Indigenous culture there. And so like it's so varied, and it's like, of course it is, because Australia is such a big country. And then when I moved to Canada, I did start to see some of the changes in the season. But there are other things too, like the male-female genderization of a lot of things in Wicca, that I was like, okay, well, obviously, well, for me anyway, I feel like that needs to evolve, because gender is, we're learning a lot more about gender, and a lot of us are evolving with that, because obviously we all came from a school system and all that sort of stuff that taught us very linear things, and now, thank goodness, we are much more educated. I would say a lot of us. So there's a lot of things that I think, so definitely an eclectic witch with evolutionary Wicca, with sort of like Druidish UK thing, but progressive.
Yeah.
I hope that made sense.
No, it totally does. That's really funny that you say that, because I actually met with Yvonne Abero, and she's like a 6-time author of Inclusive Wicca, and she was talking about like the push and like how they're like putting together different forums so you can find specifically inclusive Wiccan like covens, or like if you live in New York or if you're in New Mexico, like you can get on there and like look and see like where the traditional ones are, and then where like the new like inclusive, these ones that are expanding and that include that non-binary, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's growing, it's progressing, and it's really beautiful to see those changes, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, there are going to be people who are going to cling to anything that's old. Like I remember even back in the day, gosh, this would be like over 20 years ago, in Australia, I was told, I was at a panel in the Australian Wicca conference, so that it moves from sort of capital to capital of each state every year, and it was in Perth one year, and I remember being on a panel, and at a young age I was even then, and one of the ladies was from England and had Alexander Sanders' sword, and she'd moved to Australia, moved to Perth, and she was speaking, and she was like, well, I wouldn't recognize your priestess ship. Like, she's like, I wouldn't recognize you as a priestess. I wouldn't recognize you as an initiate, oh my gosh, initiate, because you can't trace your lineage back directly to Gardner or the Sanders or anyone from the, and I was just like, cool, you know, whatever. Like, she was like 60 something, you know, like whatever, you know, like, so even there are people who are going to kind of cling to this needs to be this way. And I think one of the powers of witchcraft is that we do tend to be rebels. We're not people who like to be witches, pagans, heathens, you know, tarot readers, mystics tend to be a little more rebellious, and we don't like to be necessarily labeled or told
Yeah.
you want this or you want that, or you need to tick this box, you know. So I was like, that's fine. So I think that generation of even that, just that mindset is kind of maybe dissipating a little bit. But even with the when Dianic witchcraft became really popular, and I get the time, the rhyme and the reason for it, but even that, when I was researching different covens and different spiritual paths, I was like, that's just the pendulum swung way too far that way, you know. So it was like, okay, well, one is like, very obviously we live in a very masculine patriarchal society, but then, you know, obviously they wanted to move that the other way. And it's like, can we not just kind of come to the middle and you know, find a space where everybody can maybe be accepted and do their own thing that's not obviously harming themselves or other people? But yeah, I was just like, this is interesting.
So is that how you actually came to start your own coven?
Yeah, so it was funny because I just felt really drawn. So I actually started teaching first, and only because when I was in Perth, there wasn't any sort of like teen witch like groups. And I was like 17 at the time, and I was like, I'm bored, I want to meet other witches. So I had my, like, I think it was like an Angel Fire website. Oh my god, I'm so old. And I I started this teen witch group, and I put an ad in a free metaphysical paper for like teen witches who want to hang out. And I used our extra phone line, and my parents were really cool about it. I was always like way more mature than my years, really. So and I, even at that age, I was like, we were just like reading books together, and I would meet parents of like the teens. And one of my friends that I met there, she was like 14 or whatever when we met, and I was like 17, and I met her mom and him and all that kind of stuff. She's just about to have her first baby. I've known her forever, you know, like these are people that I've known for a really long time. And so I started a teen group, and then out of that I found a bunch of friends, just like people, my people, and it never really was like the thing I set out to do. And then I started teaching witchcraft courses once a week at a community center, and then found more people. And then it was like, we should form a coven, not out of I want to boss anybody around, more of like we just found this like sisterhood. And it just happened to be that they were all female, even though the Australian pagan community is very, very active of everybody. And then it just like evolved from there. And yeah, it was just, I got very, very involved with the pagan community. I'm about to start a frog in my throat. Sorry.
It's okay.
I found a local metaphysical store and started to teach out of there, and then did readings out of there, and then met a lot of the community that way. And it just sort of, everything I've ever done has just naturally evolved, which has been a real lovely thing. You know, even every
Yeah.
project I've done has never been something that's felt forced. I mean, it's been work, but I've never gone, I've set out to do this. It's kind of like, oh, I'm on the journey. Oh, cool. Like, here's another signpost from the universe. I guess I'll go that way. And then it sort of just happened.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. What would you say that your path now centers on? Like, is it green magic or water magic or tarot or even creating? I think you probably have a lot of channeled a lot of magic through like creating. I mean, you just came out with the Modern Love Tarot, and you're always creating.
I am, and I've always been that way ever since I was a little kid. You know, I was always making something, writing something. I've got just books and books and books full of like book ideas and fashion drawings, and I had a jewelry design company at one point, and you know, I've always been that way. So it was never really anything that, again, I have to be doing something. Like, I'm making pendulums at the moment, like on my other desk, and I'm bookbinding on the other one. So it's like I'm always like doing something. But my path at the moment is definitely still teaching, being a part of the Awakened Soul Coven, being the high priestess there. So teaching will always be a big part of it. And it's not, I feel like my biggest thing is holding space for people. Even when I'm doing a tarot reading, it's just holding space for whatever healing or message or whatever needs to come through. It's not about me, it's about everybody else, because I know how hard it was when I started in the craft to find a safe space, you know, to find someone who was able to critically, a teacher who was able to critically think and didn't dismiss things straight away, but was open to new things and didn't necessarily dismiss science. And like, so it's like just creating a safe space where people can come and just be themselves and be safe. And that's been my biggest like thing. But I'm definitely an eclectic teaching witch, but divination will always be a very, very big part of my life, because it was ever since I was a kid. So yeah, and I'm obsessed with the ocean, and I love fae magic as well. Yeah, it's I think a lot of things.
Yeah.
Quite like my personality.
Do you have any daily rituals that you do? Like,
yeah, I have my daily devotions. So I have Thor, who's my puppy, and when I take him out in the morning, I'll say my daily devotions. So, you know, good morning, Mother Earth, Father Sky, elements, ancestors, my spirit guides. So I always do my daily devotions. I have several working altars in my home. I'm lucky I don't have to share any space. One of the bennies of being single. So I have a working stone circle full of stones and rocks that I've collected from all my travels in the world. Some of them taken near, not off sacred sites, because that's not a good idea, but some of them taken, like some of them are from Peru, from when I was like trekking through the Andes, and I asked if I was able to take them, but like I've been to Machu Picchu, but I'm not stupid enough to take anything from there, because I think you'd just be asking for it. But just different places in the world that I've been, and respectfully asked to take a rock, a stone. So I have a big working stone altar up here for healing and for things like that, with a lot of my goddesses up there. And then I have a money altar that I work with, or abundance altar I work with every day as well. So that's just working with keeping all of my areas of my life abundant, you know, in positive ways, in those affirmations. And then I do card magic pretty much like tarot pretty much every day to some degree, you know, so whether it's working with clients or writing about it, or filming and unboxing, or, you know, so there's always something that's happening with the cards. They are like literally everywhere in my apartment, so not a bad problem.
So I have never been in a coven, and so I know you have your coven, and then you also have like it's extended online. And so can anyone join the Awakened Soul Coven, or is there a certain path, or how does it work?
Anyone can. So the reason why I started the coven online, was because I left some of my soul sisters in Australia. So I feel and that was the hardest part of moving here, was leaving people that I will love till I die there. And I'm still friends with them, and I still, you know, Facebook chat with them, and I see them every time I go home. But to have built those bonds over 10 years and then to have moved and have nobody, I was like, shit, I'm pretty sure there have been a lot of people who that's happened, or they've had kids and they can't necessarily get out to stuff, or, you know, and this was way before pandemic. You know, I've been running the coven now for 6 years. Having my son and moving countries really changed some perspective stuff for me in a big way. And so anyone can join, and we work majorly with the moon, because we have people who are in Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, Peru, and then all over Europe, Japan, like they're all over the world. So we work with the moon mostly, and then there's obviously Sabbath information for both the northern and southern hemisphere. And we have a call a week, a meeting a week. We do witches workshops, and we do a full moon ritual every month, and there's meditations and a workbook on the goddess. So it's really, again, started from that desperate need I have for community, because I need that in my life. Like, I don't know if it's just the extrovert in me or whatever it is. If I don't have access to people that, I don't know, that are on my level of just like vibing. It doesn't even have to, not that I'm on a level, but just like on my vibration, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. I find it really isolating.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I feel the same way. That resonates so deeply with me. Well, I'm in the middle of South Dakota, in the middle of nowhere. Like, I have to drive 4 hours in any direction to get to a Starbucks. Like, that's like how rural it is. So like, I went to kindergarten and graduated high school with the same 24 students. Like, so we're very small, very rural. And so like in my daily life, I may, even if, you know, outside of a pandemic, but, you know, even if I see lots of people, it's not like I can talk about like tarot or witchcraft, or there's, you know what I mean? And even if I did, if like, you know, I'm sure there's people that would listen to me, but they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? So it's so nice to come, you know, and be connected to my tarot friends on the other side of the world, and be able to just like word vomit about, you know, the new tarot decks that are coming out, and your tarot journaling and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that community it's really nourishing, like for the heart space. It's everything.
To even not have to explain the nuances. Like, it was last week. So when the new moon hit Pisces, I swear to God, I cried for a week. Like, I just full on cried for a week. My moon is in Pisces. It wasn't a shock. My Venus is in Cancer. Like, and my son, who's Cancerian and very empathic as well, he comes by it from both of his parents, me and his father. We were just a mess. Like, for an entire week, he was having nightmares. We were like, just all the energy was around. And even just to get on a call with like other people and be like, you've been feeling that too, right? And everyone's like, yep. It's like, and you don't even have to explain it. It's just like, I get it, you know, like, I just get it. I get why you geek out about, like you said, about that new tarot deck. And believe me, I geek out a squad about tarot decks. I can't, like, I'm always like, you know, can't wait for the new ones. Or you're just talking about how, like, when you get text messages and people are like, how beautiful is the moon tonight? And you're like, yes, it is really beautiful.
Right.
So it's just nice to have people who get it. And there's, I think everybody needs that. And we've got so many members who are exactly in your situation, in the middle of nowhere, or in the middle of the Bible Belt, or surrounded by very narrow-minded people. And it's kind of their safe space to get online and just be like, I just need to talk about witchy stuff.
Yeah, no, and I'm so thankful for those spaces. I'm a part of your tarot group, the Tarot Academy. I'm so thankful for that space. It's connected so many people of all different levels and different styles of reading, and I just really appreciate like the eclectic safe spaces like that. So I know that well, first of all, your goddess deck, which is absolutely amazing. The modernized goddesses, which are just like
this one.
Yes.
This one. Yes. Thank you.
They're so wonderful. And so the modern goddesses, and I know that you teach goddess work and how to harness goddess energy, But I was wondering if you have a personal goddess or god that you work with regularly, or that is like your main OG. Yeah.
Yes, I do. I have a goddess. I have a matron and patron. Athena is my matron goddess, and she has been since I was 13. I picked up the Penguin Dictionary of Classical Mythology. I still have a copy of that on my bookshelf. And it was just like, I mean, no shock, right? Because I grew up being obsessed with She-Ra, and like it was like She-Ra, Xena, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like any woman of like a power, and I was 110% here for it, you know. So it was never about the shrinking violet. I was always wanting to pick up the sword and go run right into it. So Athena is my my goddess, and Poseidon is my god. And it was interesting when I was like, it took me too long to kind of get there. But again, in traditional Wicca, you meet the goddess first and then you meet the god. So again, that wasn't a shock, but it was more, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I mean, ever since I was tiny, I went like a little kid, or obsessed with dolphins, wanted to be a marine biologist, went to school for marine science, found out I couldn't get my scuba license because of my lungs. And then that kind of dashed my hopes of studying sharks for the rest of my life. So I didn't want to be stuck in a room all day. I wanted to go out in the field. And I don't know why it took me so long to figure out Poseidon, even when I didn't have him as my official patron. I would walk into the water and always commune with the water as I was going into the ocean. Some of it for protection, because as many of you know, there are some things in Australia in the water that are not so friendly. You know, I would always ask permission and say, I'm about to enter your domain. I'm doing this out of, you know, to come commune and to spend time with you. And I ask that no harm befall me or anyone around me, because any like waves, currents, rips, sharks, whatever, like there's a lot of stuff that can mess you up in the water. But so I would do that, not even realizing, and then I'd say thank you on my way out. And I never really realizing, like you're talking to, you know, the sea god there. And then it was my friend who's Fijian, and he has a lot of Fijian deities, ocean deities, and we were talking, and it just kind of clicked one day, and I was like, oh duh. But I think I had that block because Athena and Poseidon both fought for the right to be the patron of Athens, and obviously Athena won. So I was like, I had this like dichotomy because I was like in my head about all the mythology, and so I think that's what went on there. But
is that
to
cool?
answer your question, yes.
Isn't that so neat? Like, I just love when people like you just move through this journey and then they just realize these things about themselves that have it's always been there. And that's how I feel about like being a witch. It's like people just remember, like you just
totally.
you realize it because it's been there. You know what I mean? That magic that is unique to each person. Like you found it again, you know?
Yeah, you wake up either very quickly or like it's a lucid dream, and you kind of just start to wake up and you're like, oh, I remember this stuff.
Yeah,
this stuff just feels like home, or oh, I've been doing that my entire life. Like, how did I not know that this was my path?
Yeah. You know? Yeah, like how did I not know I was magic? Like it's just, I don't know, it's just sometimes, yeah, like you said, it's like a blooming, like sometimes it's all at once overnight, and sometimes it's this like really slow, like beautiful unfurling, but then it's just like, oh yeah, like I'm a bad bitch, like why was I taking anything less than, you know what I mean? Like it just, yeah.
I have this one of the things I really, really like about Athena, and it's really funny because I feel sometimes that Poseidon is more the go with the flow, gentle, more flow type. Maybe it's because of King Triton from The Little Mermaid, which I watched like 1,000,000 times. Maybe, I don't know. He was a bit daddy, but whatever. But I don't know if that was it or what, or the fact that the ocean has always just been such a massive part of my life. But one thing I love about having Athena as my matron goddess is that she, whenever I touch base with her in my temple, my astral temple, or just working with her, I've got like an altar to her by my bed. I'm like, fuck, remember who you are. She wasn't just the goddess of strategy. She was a war goddess.
Yes.
Like, and wisdom. Like, you got to remember who the fuck you are, you know, like, and then that's like, oh shit, you know, I got to remember that I'm the one who can empower my life, and I'm the one who can make the right decisions, or at least with the information I have at the time, to
Yes.
make the best choice I can for myself. So it's nice. It's nice to have a more of a warrior goddess as your
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I want to like flip this desk. I'm like so hyped. But I don't do any deity work, but from what I've read, like she has this duality of like love and softness, but then she's also like the goddess of war, which is I absolutely love that. Like I love everything about it.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. Not to be trifled with. We'll call out your bullshit pretty quickly, but definitely will remind you when you're having a rough time that it's like, no, you've got this. The goddess will never give you more than you can handle. And I've had to remind myself that on a number of occasions. But it's just like, yeah, okay, time to level up, you know, just gotta get it done, whatever it is.
So you just was the most recent deck you put out was the Modern Love Tarot, is that right?
Yes, these two came out at the same time. These babies came out at the same time. So the Modern Love and the Modern Goddess Oracle. So yeah, that's my latest ones. My box is already beaten up because I've been using it so much.
So I wanted to ask if you have anything else in the works that we should be watching for.
Yes, I may have not one but two new decks in the works. So I have been a very busy bee over here, and I'm very excited. I'm hoping that both of them will be out this year. So
really,
yeah.
Wow, you have been making like good use of pandemic time. Holy cow.
I tell you, all I've been doing, honestly, is crafting and writing and like working. Like that is it. Like and taking my dog for like long walks and stuff like that. But I mean, what else is there to be honest, it's pretty much all I did pre-pandemic anyway. But I don't know. And I really was like, oh, I'm going to take a break. I like released 4, did 4 decks last year. I'm going to take a break. And then it's like, oh no. All these projects that are speaking to me. And I was like, oh, bugger it.
That's so exciting. The deck collector in me is just like, I'm super, super excited. And you guys, I will put all of her information down below so you can follow along for when this new top secret projects come out.
I haven't even, I think I dropped one hint months ago about one, but yeah, and it's not that I tend to like want to drop it as like keep it as a secret. I just like forget, and then I'm just like working away and I'm like, oh yeah, I've done like no promotion. No promotion of this. Oh, whatever,
So remind me, what all groups do you have? So you have the Tarot Teach group on Facebook. You have a Witchcraft group on Facebook as well. Then you have the Awakened Soul Coven. How else should people be? We have TikTok now. I've seen you've been you just made the most amazing Witch's Broom TikTok, and I love that. And Instagram, of course. What else? Do you have any other groups that I should be a part of?
I have, just the Tarot Teach Academy one and the Awakened Soul Coven. And even if there's an open group as well for the Awakened Soul Coven where you can come in and you don't even have to be a part of the inner circle. And then, just at Ethony on Instagram and the same on TikTok. And I don't know. I just do lots of content creation because I literally can't stop talking, as you have witnessed yourself.
I absolutely love it. I'm still like figuring out. I'm older, so like trying to navigate TikTok for me has been a chore, but
it's horrible for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know what. And you know what's amazing now? My TikTok at the beginning was just full of like garbage, but now it is literally filled with rainbow witches, fabulous drag queens, and I'm like, yep, I'm home. Like this is all I want to watch.
I know.
Witches, my lovely there are a couple of guys on there that do the most amazing makeup that I'm obsessed with, and my drag queens, and I'm like, okay, I'm happy. Like
I know, I absolutely love it. I can't use it for myself, but like just scrolling through there and the witch talk, I've learned all different kinds of things. I think it's really great, like what the younger generation is doing. And it's just really exciting and empowering to see these people like they've just completely reclaimed witch and no one's afraid of it. And just they're living their best lives and they're, yeah, being magical. I absolutely love it. Also, like, for some reason they all skipped like the weird hair and blue eyeshadow phase and like went straight to like Kardashian. Like
I blame the Kardashians, but you know what? That's a whole nother conversation. I'm not into the Kardashians, and for lots of reasons, but
yeah. But yeah, I absolutely love it. Before we go, I did want to ask you, so you teach all different kinds of things, of course, different divination to goddess work to everything in between. Like you said, you're a teaching witch, but when you first started your path, or even now, is there any learning resources, any book that really helped you that you would recommend to people that were also looking to learn?
oh, my like first books were things like the mythology books and Teen Witch by Silver Ravenworth, and she's problematic. But what is a really good? I mean, the Christopher Penczak Inner Temple, a witchcraft series is really really good. He's got a great timeline in there, which I really really enjoy reading. If you're looking for Wicca, Thorn Mooney's books are really good, traditional Wicca. If you want to learn, she's super smart and really thoughtful. So I read all the classics like Laurie Cabot and everyone like that, but I think Christopher Penczak is a good way to start because it's practical as well as has its theory in it, and then you can't go wrong with like Cunningham, Scott Cunningham's Wicca and Living Wicca. Even though again it's very traditional, and even in my coven I do have them read things like the Wicca, Living Wicca, the Christopher Penczak books, at least the first two, and even Raymond Buckland's book of Witchcraft. For other reasons, we do a bit of critical analysis on that book because, yep, I have thoughts on it, but it's still an interesting read. But those would be some of the recommendations. But read everything online, read everything you read with just that critical mind, right? Just like don't accept everything as gospel. Think about it within yourself. Find multiple sources on different things. Read a variety of different authors from a variety of different backgrounds, and just find the magic that works for you, and the path that you're meant to find will open up. I meet a lot of baby witches or new witches, and a lot of people, and I was this way, I wanted to collect all the initiations and have all the books and do all the things and be all the whatever and challenge authority and all that kind of stuff. And then you calm down a little bit and you and you realize you don't necessarily need all that stuff. Although I do still have all the books and all the tools and all that, but it's just your magic is in there. The label, you will find the label, but just enjoy the journey, because man, I wish I could go back and like find everything for the first time again. It was such an amazing sort of like awakening, and you'll only get to experience it once, so enjoy it. And only be around people who make you feel good, right? Don't ever let anyone make you feel not welcome, not included, not heard, not seen, not supported. And if they tell you that your magic doesn't fit for them because you're not whatever, then they're not a reflection of everybody in the craft. They're just a reflection of what's going on within them. And walk on, with peace, and just with peace in your heart. May you like find it and just keep going, because I was very lucky not to have any kind of dodgy experiences, but I've met a lot of people who have, and you just listen to yourself on that one.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, every episode, I think that I say that to do your own homework. Just because someone is on social media doesn't mean that they know what they're talking about. So double check everything, do what feels right for you. And yeah, people that tell you that they're going to find your magic or they're going to heal you are not the type of people that you want. And so I know I said last question, but this is the last question. I have to ask this because in all the years that I've watched your videos, I don't know if I know how you learned tarot. Who taught you to read tarot?
I learned tarot from an amazing woman by the name of Gail. Where is it? Do I still have? That's my psychic development. Oh, I have my old files. This is what I'm trying to find. Can I find it? Which is, look at this. I have to pull out, cover my muggle name. Look at that. This was my very first tarot
workshop with Gail.
With Gail. Gail is the business. I love her so much. I see her whenever I can in Perth. She's a babe. Look at that. Babe.
Oh my gosh.
She's a amazing woman, and I did this workshop with her because I found her at the Sun, Moon and Stars spiritual shop where I then later ended up working, and I did levels 1 and 2 with her. I did all of her psychic development courses with her, and she was actually the one when we did our final readings for our courses. She's like, you've got a gift for this. Have you ever thought about reading for other people professionally? And I was like, no, because I didn't know, right? And then she was like, well, you should seriously think about it. And so, yeah, the beautiful Gail in Perth, she still does tarot readings now, but I know her wait list is something like 4 or 6 months because she's that well known, and she's only by referral. But yeah, I again was very blessed to have found, I mean, I looked for every new age store I could, right? I was like, I'd visit every one of them, and then I found her, and then I found Tamara Lampard, who's a civil celebrant and a high priestess and a teacher as well. And those two women were very, very instrumental in connecting me to the community and also to tarot. And I wouldn't be here now, I don't think, without either of them. So with the elders in my community, and there's a number of them that I could thank for everything, were very open, and that's why I try to do the same, right? Just be open and supportive and let people find their magic and things like that, which is nice.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for the beautiful, inclusive, empowering community that you're building and the people that you're lifting up. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. You guys, again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you back for another episode of Witch Hunt. Bye.
Bye.